I'm sitting with Pat Wilde, who has just coached roles. She danced in 3 Balanchine ballets: Serenade, Divertimento 15, and La Valse. Now, Pat, you've had such a long career, and you've danced so tirelessly, so many roles, it's hard to know where to start. But I think I'll plunge right in and go to Serenade.
Well, I did do a lot of roles, and it's lovely to go back and see what the company is doing with those parts now, and how they've changed over the years. Not that much, but little bits here and there, and things that Mr. Balanchine insisted, at least when he was working with me, certain things that with someone else he probably would have demanded something entirely different, not entirely different, but possibly different accents, but with me it was usually a little more of something.
A little farther back, right?
Head on the floor.
Well, what does Serenade mean to you? You danced several roles, as you said, which I'll get to in a minute, but as a ballet, for your career?
Well, it wasn't one of the first ballets that I did, although my first performances of it were with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, and of course it was a very different version. Not the choreography was the same, basically, but our costumes and everything were very different. And I think the feel of the ballet was different because of the lighting, which Jean Rosenthal had done for New York City Ballet. It was like a new ballet almost coming to that.
I wondered about that when I saw the Ballet Russe costumes, much shorter.
Oh yes, they were real ugly length. we were not very happy with them, and they were kind of, as I remember, tones of brown, and which doesn't seem like Serenade either.
No.
I don't know whether they really were, but that's what my impression was, that it was this kind of brown tunic type of thing. It hit us around the knees.
Yes.
Not the most elegant
length of leg, right, was missing. Well, I'm glad you said this about the colors, because as far as I know, the only film we have is in black and white. So, yes.
Yeah. Well,
I had no idea they were brown or even gave off a brown flavor.
It was brown and orange. I just have a vision of the principal in Ballet Russe, and she also had the same length, and we had a kind of something in our hair, bandana or something, a little kind of rope in it. It all had a,
well,
I guess, a Roman.
Well, why not? Some of the girls even had their hair loose. I saw this film anyway. I don't know exactly which year it was, but it was the Ballet Russe version. So it did look enormously different. Did Balanchine ever talk to you about Serenade, the story, the implications?
No. I do remember one thing, and this, I don't know why he ever said it. It was, I was not doing one of the leads. I think I had done one of the jump things that he always wanted me to do. And, but I did the part which we said the mother, at the end, just before they lift the ballerina off. And I went to that place and stood, I don't know why I was doing that, because I didn't usually do it. And he said, "You're like the mother."
Well, typically it's been a tall girl all these years.
That's the only time I
Yeah.
ever heard anything.
Yeah.
You
Well-
know, because he never, no story, nothing, no.
Well, I knew you were going to say that, but I just thought I'd ask, because every dancer we've had has said that, more
Yeah.
or less. He didn't say much of anything.
No.
He told another dancer a little bit of a story, and I don't know whether it was in jest or not, but he said the girl on the floor was the wife, the dark angel was the mistress, and the Russian girl passing through was the lover.
Okay.
And then he said,
Been there, done that.
That's my life. Now, who knows whether he, was just kidding around or what, but I just thought that was sort of amusing. Now, you're obviously known best for the Russian dance. Yes, you did that the most, I'm sure.
The Russian dance and the jump girl.
Yeah, we'll get to those jumps in a second. But I just wanted to say, it's interesting that ballet has been danced with one principal female dancer, with 5 principal female dancers. Now it's mostly 3 principal female dancers. But I was wondering, among other things, did you dance other parts other than the Russian dance?
Oh, absolutely. I've done the waltz, and I've done the
what we call the dark angel, the one with the arabesque.
Angel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done them all.
How did it work with the single ballerina?
As a matter of fact, in one performance, and it was in New York at City Center, Janet Reed was supposed to be doing the waltz, and she did the very first entrance, sauté, we saw jeté, and cross down in front of the line, and then sautéed and came off stage and said, Pat, can you do the next entrance? I've got this terrible cramp in my, and I said, yeah, sure. And so I do, it's the same costume and everything. I did the next entrance, and I said, are you okay now? No. Well, it turned out that she had torn her Achilles tendon.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I did the whole thing. And it was, and I do my part, and somehow it worked out.
Yeah.
As it can.
Yes. Well, you said
it was done that way originally.
Could you describe the jumps, the big jumps that you are specialized in, and how you trained or practiced doing them? I mean, you're flipping in the air.
Well, Mr. Balanchine, he wanted me to come out the furthest down stage that I could for the first jump, and just come out and go. And then he would stand where he wanted me to jump, which was miles away from the partner that I was jumping over the 2 girls that are on the floor. And at that point, their skirts were, they put their skirts in a little bit, but they were close together. So I really had to jump from far away, or you'd be on them. And I just aimed for the partner's shoulder.
Well, I'd like to mention that a biography of you, has just been published by Joel Lobenthal.
Oh.
And in it you are quoted as saying, of these jumps, that it wasn't so much the height of the jumps, but it was the daring that Balanchine liked.
Yes, well, that's why he wanted me to go from very far away up there.
Yeah. Yes.
And the upside down one, which is the next one, where she jumps with her both arms up and the one leg up. Then there again, he wanted me to be far away, and Nikki or whoever.
Well, I was going to say, who caught you the most?
Usually Nikki.
Yeah. I believe, actually, as far back as the Ballet Russe, you did those jumps.
Yes. When I joined the Ballet Russe, I was in the corps de ballet, but Mr. B knew me, and he immediately said, "You're
Yeah, you're brand new and already doing those roles.
We arranged it, but you can do the jumps.
When you teach Russian dance, which I assume is the thing you teach most often,
yeah,
what do you stress?
With any of the Balanchine works, it's those accents. In other words, you know, you can do something small. So I did 2 small little changements, small. Then you let go and you jump as high as you can, and your leg goes out into second, and you do the ballet battu.
Well, I was going to mention that step.
But that's ballet battu should be. It's all in the air.
Yes, I know.
Shouldn't be. You know, what you get is ballet, and everything drops.
Well, it's a very difficult step.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and it is, it's again, with his things, it's phrasing. You know, it's that wonderful sustain, like the waltz girl, no, do it. And you are with a man and he's holding you, but you have that moment of suspension in the air before the leg touches the floor and you step into something else. I mean, I mean, the breath is so important, of course.
Yes.
As any choreography, but particularly that hold and then go and stop and then go. That pulse.
That makes all the difference.
The excitement of the
yeah.
No.
There's some quote that actually not by you, but another dancer in your book. I just want to read that Balanchine had a way of demanding, of asking you to do a little bit more than you thought you could, of
Always.
Keeping you on edge. And that's what the audience felt. Those dancers were dancing to the edge of their ability. They were going over the precipice.
Absolutely, yes.
I thought you'd agree.
Exactly what he was asking for constantly. Is to live dangerously.
Well, you mentioned during the coaching something about dangerous, and I thought you have a lot of dangerous steps. Specialized in them.
But
well,
he really loved that. I mean, that just gives the life to it.
Right, right. And of course, he showed everything, so
yes.
you got the idea.
Yes, he did.
He was, as everyone says, I experienced as well, and certainly you did, that he could dance or show these things almost better than any dancer.
I remember when he was choreographing something, and he'd do something, you know, and it looked very complicated, and he said, you know, and I said, what was that? What was that one? Oh, no, maybe I change it. No, and I'd say, no, let me get it. Let me, I can get it. You know, I wanted to eat what he was preparing for me as before he made any changes or anything. And I think everybody felt that way.
Well, you've told us quite a bit about working with Balanchine, but you obviously had a relationship, at least in the studio.
My husband was Russian, and they both loved to cook. And my husband was good at building anything. And so Mr. B had the house in Connecticut, and they were just fixing it up. And he was gardening, and there was always something to do. So we would go out on the weekends and spend a lot of time with him. Tanny and I washed the dishes. We never did any cooking, you know, and I had this poodle brandy that Mr. B loved, because both cooks. So anything they dropped, even you know, a radish, they drop it on the floor. The dog he'd eat it. So they were.
Well, I figured cooking would have been a common bond. Well, getting back to dancing, we've talked a little bit about your jumps, which everyone says were extraordinary, and you were also known for your speed. And we just saw with Divertimento 15
Oh, yeah.
a good example of speed.
I thought she did it very well, and she went through her feet, and she moved well on it, because that's the thing, when you are dancing very fast, it's the tendency is to make it smaller and smaller, and then it's not going to look like anything. So you have to really do the bourrée back and bring yourself. And then when you have a chance to step out, you have to really go for it.
Were you always technically so strong, or born that way, or at least very early on? You had kind of a virtuoso technique.
That's a facility the thing with the jumping, I always said, well, that's because when I was a kid, we had a big quarry near us, and we all loved to play in the quarry, and I was always thinking, I can jump that. And,
Okay. So you were prepared.
So I was
yes,
reaching for it.
And then, of course, there's the Adagio, which is entirely different. Pool of talent or a group of talent, or entirely different stylistically.
Oh, and he did change that so many times. Yes, he really did. But this is the version that they did has stayed for a lot.
Looked familiar to me.
Was a solid.
From other performances.
But he wasn't that whole section. He kept playing with during the performing years, which he would do with various works.
Well, there was another ballet, or rather a ballet with this more or less the same choreography, but a different title, called Caracole.
Oh, yes.
And you also danced in that, but you didn't dance that part. Is that correct?
No, I did the very first variation in that. And that was, again, en chassis to start.
Good way to get going, right?
Yes.
Was there a Gagliard in that variation?
I'm sorry?
Was there a Gagliard in that variation?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Since it was you, I bet.
Yeah.
Because he...
it was started on chassis, and I think it was a Gagliard right after it.
Do you want to describe that step a little bit? Describe it, yeah.
Gagliard is like a pas de chat, but the first leg does a rond de jambe and stretches, and while that one is doing that, then as it's stretching, the other leg, your left leg, does an en dedans rond de jambe and stretches and goes.
While you're in the air, yes. Well, I thought you could describe it exceedingly well. And I'm sure Balanchine thought you were very good at it, because he threw it in some other ballets, right?
Oh, yes. I had Gagliards in Nutcracker. In the
Marzipan, yeah.
Marzipan, yes.
And you probably had some in square dance?
Oh, yeah.
Naturally.
I never thought of them, but...
Well, actually, there's a story. I can't check it out, but that Balanchine was once asked who had the best jumps and beats of any dancer he'd ever seen. And he said, Pat Wilde.
Oh, really?
But the questioner then said, oh, I didn't mean just the women. And he said, Pat Wilde. Oh. Anyway, and La Valse, I'm kind of curious about the atmosphere at the time. I mean, you're at the beginning of the ballet. And
yes.
The drama, or what have you, the mystery comes
just
later.
Just after the trio of girls, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I just wondered, Tanny was always a very special dancer.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I just wondered if she was somehow a part, or she was one of the principal dancers, or was she...
Tanny? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, she was it.
Well, that's what I meant. She was it even then, right?
Yes, I mean, she was the whole... We led up to her arrival on the scene, and then her... I still envision how she put her arm into that. Isn't that chills?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. yeah, so incredible.
One other thing I was going to ask, you said something earlier about the style today as the style, should we say yesterday, or when you were dancing, or what have you.
I think it's very precise. Certain elegance. And, you know, they have charm and presentation. It's very upright.
Today.
Yes.
Yes.
Very, very, it's not, I don't want to say stiff, because it isn't stiff, but it is almost like a rod in the back, and then they're moving around that. Is that
Well, I think you said something also about, I mean, steps were smaller with smaller girls. And
yes, yes. But
I
I mean, they, you know, did all of that. I mean, for instance, the very fast work, they were doing it. And certainly they step out and travel. It is a held kind of, and I don't mean to say that they're not gracious, they are. But it's a different form somehow.
I think we'll come to a close, but I don't want to stop without mentioning that you have recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame, the National Museum of Dance in Saratoga.
Yes.
So
I'm there with all the, now I feel, because I didn't know that there was a dance place to be
you should, yes. Well,
you know, I thought that was baseball and hockey, but
horse racing, yes.
Yeah. Yes, now I'm in there.
I know, that's very nice. So congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.